Welcome back to the Troutman Pepper Lock Battery and Storage Podcast. I am your host, Bill Derasmo. Today, we have on the program Dr. Majid Keshavarz, who is the Chief Technology Officer at EnerVenue. Dr. Keshavarz has been with EnerVenue since 2020 and has a PhD in chemistry from RPI. Before coming to EnerVenue, he held a series of senior positions at other cutting-edge companies. Welcome to the program, Majid.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, why don't I give you a chance to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about EnerVenue.
Sure. I'm Majid Keshavarz, Chief Technology Officer at EnerVenue. I've been in energy space for more than 20 years in Silicon Valley, involved with a few startups. My focus has been non-lithium ion batteries, energy storage mainly for grid applications. I spent many years on flow batteries, different type of chemistries, iron, chromium, vanadium batteries. Also spent a few years working on sodium ion batteries before I joined EnerVenue and started working almost 6 years now on nickel hydrogen battery. I believe we are the only company working on a nickel hydrogen battery. It's interesting that it's old technology, but with a new twist. The technology was developed by NASA back in 1970s and deployed in aerospace applications. Happy to get into details of the technology.
Sure. Well, why don't we talk for a minute about the nickel hydrogen, start there. And I guess I would ask, in the market right now, obviously lithium ion dominates the grid scale storage space. We've had a lot of guests on talking about that. We have had guests talk about vanadium and talk about some other battery chemistries. What do you think differentiates nickel hydrogen and the advantage that it gives in the marketplace?
Very good question. Nickel hydrogen battery, first of all, lithium ion is a great technology. Has its use for a lot of applications. I believe, mobile applications, cell phones, laptops, and EV, great chemistry for those type of applications. When it comes to grid, it's a little bit different because of the scale of the grid. We're talking about hundreds of megawatt hours, grid gigawatt hours, and safety becomes extremely important, especially thermal runaways and ignitions and explosions that we have witnessed over years. And there is not a week that goes by and we don't hear another incident. Nickel hydrogen battery is a water-based rechargeable battery. It's based on nickel hydroxide on the cathode side and hydrogen electrode on the anode side. And it's separated by a porous separator soaked in electrolyte. All batteries have these four components: anode, cathode, electrolyte, and separator. In this case, since we generate hydrogen and the anode is hydrogen gas, this is sealed hermetically in a vessel, in a canister. That is required in order to contain the hydrogen battery. So why hydrogen battery? Besides safety, it is the most durable battery ever designed, in my opinion. And it's shown 40 years in aerospace. It was deployed in International Space Station by NASA, Hubble telescope, Mars rover, and many other applications. In case of International Space Station, it was basically in service for 19 years without any maintenance. As we know, lithium-ion and other type of batteries require augmentation over years. Service. So maintenance is a huge expense, OpEx. So reliability, safety are two factors. Also, it performs very well at extreme temperatures, high temperature, low temperature, very flexible. And it's easy to, at EnerVenue, we have simplified the design as well. Its manufacturability, we've been working on that aspects of it, which is very, very important. Also recyclable. This battery can be recycled. Components are, it's not like lithium ion, which has basically 7 different metals used. Here we're talking mainly nickel and plastic and steel. and electrolyte is water-based. So it's very easy to recycle basically all the components.
Those are quite a few important reasons. We have also talked about the issue of what you do with batteries when they're expired or when they're no longer useful. And we've had some discussions around that, around trying to deal with the so-called black mass and pulling the elements out of it. And then there's also second life applications. We've had a client on that's talking about taking the batteries out of the cars and using them in a grid scale application. It's always an interesting aspect of the discussion as well. But what you're saying on that point is that it's really just nickel that you would need to deal with. You wouldn't have a lot of the other metals that you'd have to deal with. So that's interesting.
Yes, you don't have copper, aluminum, and other, depends on the type of lithium ion, like NMC is different, like manganese and cobalt, etc.
Manganese, sure, yeah. Well, one of the other things that's interesting too, when we talk about battery storage and the grid scale side, is the issue of duration. So lithium ion tends to be used in a 4-hour, 2-hour. I mean, it can be used in longer duration, no question, but it tends to be in the market right now. I don't have statistics on it, but a lot of the installations are hitting in that 4-hour range. So if you could talk about long duration, I think that would be interesting. I mean, I was on your website before we started the conversation, and I know there's a piece on there about long duration. So if you could talk about your battery chemistry with respect to long duration, I think that would be...
Yes, there is no issue actually with this battery that you can do long duration.
Yeah.
Some of the clients are interested right now. We have deployed racks of batteries for 6 hours, 8 hours. So it's designed for 2 hours to 12 hours, but it can go longer. No issue whatsoever. Some of these limitations from get-go, we address those. And also, not all batteries are charged symmetrically, meaning you can charge faster, a few hours in the afternoon for solar source, and discharge, in the evening, 6 hours, 8 hours, etc. So this is also, I should highlight the fact, since it's very durable and it can be cycled, applications like that, you need multiple cycles per day is also important. So we don't have to worry about it, since they can last more than 30,000 cycles or so. And we're talking about decades. The simple math is 3 cycles a day for 30 years comes up about 30,000 cycles. So compared to other technologies, it lasts a lot longer.
So if you're a utility and you have to serve your load and you look at the mix of resources that you have, and you see that you've got a need, say it's 8 hours, that shows up when your solar, obviously, it's getting dark or it's at nighttime. So obviously the solar is gone, but you've still got an evening peak or whatever it is. It sounds like you could deploy the EnerVenue batteries for a period of 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is, and you don't have to ramp your gas back up.
Exactly. Okay. That's exactly what we're talking about. Also, since it can handle multiple cycles, we can do arbitrage as well, right? You can charge the battery when the electricity is low cost and discharge it at the peak time when it's more expensive. So you can actually accommodate different applications.
That's the classic storage proposition, right? You can discharge when you need it the most, and prices tend to be higher.
Right.
And then you can charge it or refill the reservoir, so to speak, if it's pump storage hydro.
Yes, true.
At night when it's cheap, and you can still be making use of your baseload resources that sort of have to stay on. So it all fits together, the puzzle, in that way. And you mentioned the word durable. I think you used the term resilient. So in terms of the battery chemistry, and you talked about cycling, how does the nickel hydrogen battery chemistry, how does it tolerate the ramping up and down?
Very good question. That is why it lasts very long. It's not very sensitive to overcharging or deep discharging. The chemistry is very different than lithium ion. So you don't have to really worry about it. You can tolerate that. It's very forgiving.
Okay.
So you can have overcharged case, but it comes back. It won't start, thermal runaway that we are aware of at 10% overcharge with lithium ion, things get starting. Here, you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My neighbor across the street, true story, bought an electric vehicle before the expiration of the tax credit for electric vehicles. That was up September 30th. And he was telling me that they like you to keep it charged in the range of 80% down to, I forget what he said, maybe 40% or 30%. And I didn't follow up asking him a question about why not just charge it up to 100%, but maybe it's what you're getting into, that it's actually preferable to not have it overcharged. I don't know.
Yes, that's well known for lithium ion. You don't really charge it. It just decreases the life of the battery. I drive electric vehicle myself. You can see that. It is the nature of lithium ion. So the higher it goes, the shorter the life will be.
That's interesting.
Same thing with deep discharge. But this is the reason we say it's a very durable or forgiving battery, that you can have a deep discharge, 100% or charge to 100% of its capacity.
Very interesting. And as a company, EnerVenue, I assume that you customize the solution to the customer's needs. So in other words, you can shape the grid scale installation to, as you said, it has various applications. So it could be the peak energy need, or it could be something else. It could be ancillary services, as we call them, load file, whatever it is. I was just curious about the other applications aside from just the energy release.
Yeah, they're all basically the same in a way that you need to charge a battery, right? Whether the source is renewables, whether it's wind or solar or grid or some other sources, even diesel generators, if necessary. Right. Of course, then that's usually not the case. And being able to use it later when it's needed, and be able to cycle these things multiple times a day, that is the key. It's not limited to certain number of cycles in the life of the battery.
So in other words, you could use it for the morning ramp and then not use it, and then use it for the evening ramp if you had to. You could cycle it that way.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, or wind at night, because windmills work at that time different than solar panels.
Sure.
Yeah, they're complementing each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if a company wants to work with EnerVenue to, say, learn more about your long duration product, what should they do?
Oh, contact us. I believe on the website, the commercial team definitely will reply. We can start with a meeting or the requirements. We are working with a number of people, number of companies all over the world right now. Australia, Europe, US, China. So we have a commercial team, and they will definitely please contact them. You can contact me if you want. I'll pass on the information, and we can go over the product. And depends on the scale right now, right? Usually the customers start with one or two racks, 100, 200 or kilowatt hours. They test it, and then they order megawatt hour. Yeah.
Right. So they can do a pilot and get comfortable with it and then go larger.
Right.
They can go for a larger installation.
Right now, our cells are large format. It's 3 kilowatt hour. Battery capacity is and it's 133 amp hour. Each rack is 50 of these vessels, so it's 150 kilowatt hour rack. Comes with BMS, and we can connect few of them easily to get to megawatt hour or whatever the customers demand based on that.
And then in terms of technical support, how do you support the customer once installed?
We have field service folks here, team that can globally. We have a team anywhere in the world can be supported.
Excellent. And in terms of the future, where do you think EnerVenue is going next? And you have your products now. Where do you see your company moving into as the industry continues to evolve?
I see us manufacturing multiple gigawatt hour energy storage in by 2027 or so. That's what we are focusing on right now, the first product for grid applications. And of course, this chemistry and this technology has the potential to come up with different type of cells as well. These are energy cells, as they said in industry. We can have power cells and other type of batteries that's required for other applications. But our focus right now is grid applications, utilities.
And the grid needs it because every region in the United States, anyway, is getting tighter from a capacity perspective. All you hear about is load growth, data centers, how are we going to fuel data centers? And even without the data centers, margins were getting tighter in terms of capacity reserve margins. So battery storage, all types of storage, that is one of the ways that the problem is being addressed, because I think in part it's because they're dispatchable. So, you have this influx of wind and solar renewable energy that's been sited onto the grid, but it's not dispatchable, it's not controllable. But the advantage that battery storage has is it is, and you can control it. That's where I'm fascinated personally by the long duration possibility, because obviously it has to withdraw energy from somewhere, whether it be co-located generator or the grid. But that being said, if you get into a situation where it's an 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour battery, it starts to look like a dispatchable generation, because it's sort of like a gas generator at that point. And so to me, that's the grid operators, I think, are going to be more and more interested in the long duration solution. Also,
microgrid, autonomous. It doesn't have to be grid tight. When we're talking about long duration, that also becomes a reality, to have a source to charge the battery and support it for a very long time.
That's an interesting one, the microgrids. We talked a lot about microgrids, it seems like maybe like 7-8 years ago, and then sort of faded from the conversation a little bit. But for sensitive installations, it's still highly relevant, whether it be a sensitive national security type of facility, like a military facility or a sensitive research facility or something, where you need on-site power and you need some autonomy, the ability to continue to operate if there's a catastrophic failure on the grid. So, if you have that type of long duration solution there too, agreed, that could be an important way for EnerVenue to have its products deployed.
Yes, it's becoming a reality, actually.
Yeah, and in that regard, so in addition to working with utilities, are you working with other types of customers?
Yes, we are working with actually utility companies that are interested in both grid-tied and autonomous applications.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Well, just let the audience know, if they're interested in working with your company, go to EnerVenue.com, EnerVue.com, and they can inquire about a customized solution. And I'll give you the last word.
Thank you very much. Yes, please contact us if you're interested in this technology. Be EnerVenue.com, commercial team, or myself, or anyone you can contact. We definitely pass the information to commercial team. Willing to, and we can start with meetings, explain the technology. It's different. Lithium ion is dominating the market. That's understandable. So it takes some time to explain this technology, and we're happy to do so.
Thank you so much. It's the nickel hydrogen technology, capable of long duration or shorter duration solutions. We appreciate having you on the program, and customers, you know where to go if you're interested in talking with EnerVenue. Thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thanks for having me.
Copyright Troutman Pepperlock, LLP. These recorded materials are designed for educational purposes only. This podcast is not legal advice and does not create an attorney-client relationship. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individual participants. Troutman does not make any representations or warranties, expressed or implied, regarding the contents of this podcast. Information on previous case results does not guarantee a similar future result. Users of this podcast may save and use the podcast only for personal or other non-commercial educational purposes. No other use, including without limitation, reproduction, retransmission, or editing of this podcast may be made without the prior written permission of Troutman Pepper Locke. If you have any questions, please contact us at troutman.com.